Hello, it's Melinda from Alexis and Melinda's Art Space. Coming on with an art journal page today. I did this one several weeks ago, so I will try to remember what I did. I found it lurking in my videos to be edited. So this is inspiration from Soul Journey. It's a Facebook group. I will link the Facebook group below. So basically, one of the instructors did a page similar to this, and then we draw inspiration from it, or follow it, or copy it. I basically sort of copied it. So just laying down some paint with my roller, as the lady did. So you sort of copy the techniques and get inspired by it. So using a variety of acrylic paints, I've got that pink one I'm using now, and the blue one I use, a heavy body from, got it from Spotlight like years and years ago. I've got a lot of paints that are half empty, quarter empty, and I'm trying to use up a lot of the tubes and get back to just basic paints. There's Montmark there, the black one is from Audi, and the little tube is from Lincraft I picked up quite a while ago on clearance. So as I've been unpacking a lot of boxes, I've been finding things that I bought and put when I've moved house, and finally trying to group all my supplies together, and it's amazing when you put everything together what you actually find. So just drying the layers between brayering on. I like brayering on the paint because you get quite a unique look, and it's quite thin, so it dries really quickly. Just putting the paint on that scrap piece of paper. It's a bit thin paper that I get from an IGA deli when I go and buy deli meat here in Australia at IGA. They wrap it, they put it in plastic and they wrap it in paper, and I've been saving the paper because it's almost like newsprint paper, but it's got no print on it, so it's really cool for art journaling. So just putting my paint on separate spots so I don't muddy up that bit of paper, and I'll use that as well. So now just using a palette knife to apply some, I believe that's a black, scratching into it as well. While I'm doing that and drying it off, the book I'm working in is actually my mixed media journal. Now this journal was inspired by Diane Reevely and her mixed media journal that has different surfaces in it. But I didn't want to spend, last year I was on this year as well, I'm sort of on a spending freeze, which I'm failing badly at, but trying to use up what I've got. So I made this journal, and I'll link the video below if I remember, of me flipping through this journal. So it's got material in it. It's got, the page I'm working on at the moment is a cereal box. It's got fabric. It's got craft. It's got a bunch of stuff, actually. So this is my version of her book. So this is some crackle paste. Now this didn't really work. This is some crackle paste again I found in my stash. A lot of this stuff has actually come from when I closed my retail store. I kept a lot of stuff thinking I would not be in a scrapbook business again. So, and I'm just sort of discovering in boxes, and some of the paints are dried up. Most of them are really good, which is cool. So adding that crackle paint, it doesn't really do much. I don't know whether I did it right. There's not real good instructions on it. So it said to dry it off and then add paint over the top of it. So I add the gold over the top, and it should have cracked the gold, and you should be able to see the black through it. It doesn't work as well as I liked. So that gold's also a Montmark paint. So they're all basically just a cheap acrylic paints. I don't have expensive paints. I do love the gold, it's very beautiful. I love how this page turned out. It's very different to my normal style, but I do enjoy it. I need to catch up on Soul Journey. I need to get back and look at the latest videos and catch up, because I haven't done it for a while. Just been busy. So next was add some scrappy paper. So I went through my scrap box of paper, and I must have done this when it was hot, because I must have the fan blowing because the paper's blowing up, or the aircon on. So just adding some scrap bits of paper around. I especially love using punched out piece of paper like that one on the, and that napkin just wants to fly away. Here, I'll throw the aircon. I must have the aircon on because I've got my remote next to me. So I must have done this when it was hot. Just using some matte Mod Podge, some Liquitex matte Mod Podge, my favourite adhesive that I get on sale, to stick them down. As I said, I like using the waste from the punch out shapes. It really gives a different look to the page. I have an idea of what I'm going to do in the middle of the page, so all these are sort of centered around the edge. And that's why I didn't put a lot of the gold paint in the middle, because I do know I'm going to cover it up. So just adding all those down. So how's everyone been? Good, I hope? Welcome to all my new subbies. I've had quite a few people come on in the last few weeks, which is fantastic. Welcome. Make yourself known. Leave me a comment. I love to read comments. I do reply to them all, but not as quick as I'd like to. I tend to sit down and do them in batches and may do 3 weeks at once. So if I don't quickly reply to your comment, I will get to you eventually. I do see a lot of the comments pop up on my phone, but for me to type a lengthy comment, I need to go to my computer because I do not like typing on my phone. I'm slow. I'm not of that generation that can text 100 words a minute. So adding some of this napkin as well. I do like the Liquitex matte gel medium to stick things down because it is matte. It doesn't have a shiny surface. As I say, I do get on special at Link Up when they do 40% off because it can be quite pricey, and I tend to buy about 6 months supply at once. So I'll buy, usually I go through about a jar a month, so I'll buy 6 to 8 jars, and then that'll get me through to the next time they do 40% off. So it's a great way to save if you're in Australia, because our art supplies can be a little bit more expensive, is to find your favourite products, work out when your stores have sales. Like Linkcraft usually have a Boxing Day sale that's been going on all the time. They had a 40% off over Easter this year. So Easter next year I'll be looking to see if they do that again and see if there's a pattern. So they definitely have 40% off over at December. So I'll be coming towards December and see how much I need to stock up on. So then I decided to add some glitter. And this is all goopy, so I threw the big goopy bit out and decided to add some gold glitter. So that one I picked up for $5 at Spotlight. I can't remember the brand of that one. I don't pay a lot of money for a lot of my supplies. If I can buy it cheaply, I will. I'm terrible. I do get a lot of my things on clearance to try because I just can't justify paying the correct money for them. Not a lot of us can. And it just means our dollar can go a long way. So what next? Giving that a good dry with the matte medium that I put down and the glitter. So adding more paint apparently. Adding more paint over the top of the pattern papers that I put down. A lot of it you don't see, but you'll see sort of the texture under the paint. Quite a bit of it does get covered up. That's what I struggled with mixed media when I first started doing it. You make this pretty background and then you cover 80%, 90% of it up. I really struggled with that, but now I understand that the pages sort of have to be all covered because you don't know which parts are going to be seen or that when you do several layers. So it does grow on me. I sometimes still do a background and then a shutter to cover it up because it's beautiful or I like it. Sometimes I just leave it and then go and make another background. So just adding some dark colours with a palette knife. This also tones in or tones down some of the papers that you've used. You can make any sort of colour papers work with your piece of paper. So just giving that a dry off. The ideal thing about mixed media is drying all the layers in between, otherwise you can end up with a muddy mess. So now I go back in and add some blue, just with my palette knife. I like scraping things on with the palette knife. Again, it makes it a nice thin layer, so it's easy to dry, especially as this is a heavy body paint. The blue one that I got from Spotlight ages ago, and again, they were like $1 a tube on clearance. That's where most of my paints come from. Clearance boxes. So what are we adding now? Oh, we're adding some, again, Joe Sonia's, this is, I think, the yellow. So we're adding that back in. Again, those little tubes I picked up at clearance as well. Oh, that was several years ago. Got those when I was in Sydney. It's interesting looking at supplies, and 99% of my supplies I can name where I got them from and how much I paid. So those Joe Sonia's come in like a little pack of 10. They were reduced at Spotlight for $2, and I managed to pick them up when I was in Sydney doing a show many, many years ago. I have a thing like that. I can pick up nearly any art supply I have, and I can remember when I bought it and what I bought it for. So then the ladies used a silhouette stencil, and I didn't have one. So I decided to make one. So I took this girl layout from girl from a magazine and just using a craft knife to cut her out. I would have cut her out with scissors, but I wanted to have both the positive and the negative piece to use. So I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. I am wanting to design some stencils just with silhouettes for my business, so I can use them as well, but I just haven't got around to that. Excuse my head. I have to be quite close when I'm fussy cutting or cutting with my knife because my distance vision is horrid. I didn't want to cut off any part of her that I didn't want to. So I loved her pose with her arms up on her head. I just loved that aspect of how she was posed. Not sure why I'm putting it back in the piece of paper and pulling it out. I obviously was doing that for a reason. Half the time, I don't know. Okay, so here my book is back. So first thing I lay out what I call the waist or the stencil part of the magazine, and I want to fill her in with gold paint. So I want to get a good coverage of the gold paint. Some of the other colours will peek through a little because it's not 100% opaque, the gold paint, which is fine, but I did want a fairly good coverage. So this is a good tip if you do want to use like stenciled figures. It doesn't work 100% because it is only a paper stencil, but it does work for a couple of layouts. Why am I pulling? Oh, I grabbed the rest of the napkin and I was using and decided to rub a little bit of the gold off. And this is how I wanted to use the second piece. So this stencil will last for probably a couple of layouts as opposed to a plastic one will last for quite a few years. So now I take the mask and put it over the gold, and I'm actually going to add black around it so she stands out from the background because the gold sort of got a bit lost on the background. I really wanted her to stand out. So just carefully holding her in place and using a makeup sponge and some black paint just to pounce around the outline of her. It doesn't matter if I cover up a little bit of the gold, I still get a good outline. So just going right around that. And then once I peel her off, I decide to bring the black a little bit further out, and I can do that by freehand. I don't need the stencil on. Actually, no, I decided to dry it first. Do I bring it more out? I'm just looking at the page in front of me. No, I don't think I do. I don't think I add any more black paint. Oh, this is the white pen disaster of all time. I decided I wanted to do a bit of scribbling around the edge of her with a white pen. So I grabbed the first white pen. Didn't really work. This is a one that I have awful trouble with white pens. If you've got a great white pen, leave suggestions below. Because I have trouble with them all drying up. So this page was perfectly dry because I left it a while because I know if I go over with wet paint, it doesn't like it anyway. But I'm trying to persist with this pen and it's really, really annoying me. So it goes off to the side. So I grab another white pen. And again, trying to get it started. For some reason, if it's a Posca pen or these are other white pens I've had in class kits, a white gel pen didn't even work. I have purchased 3 different types of white pens, which I will do a review on coming up. So that one didn't even start to work. This one doesn't do much either. I think that's my big Posca pen by the looks of it. It's just about dead. So I'm having real trouble. I do get a little bit of white around the edge. That's like the 3rd, 4th pen. What do I grab? This stage I was getting really frustrated. Right, I forgot to turn the camera back on because I went looking for a pen. This is a yellow chalk marker. And I do need to seal this page with hairspray because the chalk marker will eventually rub off. But the chalk marker is really opaque and does stand out on the black. And I sat down and did half the dots and forgot to turn the camera on. Just showing you there the black letters that I'm going to use. There's several old, I believe they're Cosmo Cricket. And I didn't get you to sit through me sticking them on because I stuck them all on with gel matte medium and had to substitute a few of the letters because I was running out of them. So a few of the letters I substituted I think were, what did I? E's. I was running out of E's. Because the title says, if you were lucky enough to be different, never change. I love that saying. So I'll leave you now. So I just took my fine liner and did a scribbly border around the edge. These are some close-up photos of some of the detail on them as well. So thank you for watching, and check out Soul Journey. It's awesome with some tutorial and inspirational videos done by different tutors, and I'll also link the video for this book showing the flip through before I did any pages in it below as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.